So we just got to Watford Junction. You probably know what overground line this is going to be today. We are going to be finishing at Euston today. It is about 34 kilometres, which is quite a long way, not going to lie. However, I am planning on doing this in two different sections. So I'm going from Watford Junction to
Wembley Central,
and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and then go from
Wembley Central
to Euston. Let's see how we get along with that. All right, let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to Runderground. My name is Matt, and if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt and I'm running every line and station that features on the London Tube map. I think it's day 25. All right, Watford Junction, third day of the overground. Let's have you. 3, 2, 1, let's go. We're coming up soon to Watford High Street station, which there are quite a few things to note once we get there. But in the meantime, I'm just taking in just how weirdly peaceful it is to not have anybody about. It's like it's good, but it's bad. I don't know. So at one point around maybe 12 or 13 years ago, TfL were considering re-extending the Bakerloo line back up to Watford Junction due to financial restrictions and maybe a variety of other reasons. They double backed on themselves. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I mean, they've still got it earmarked for the Bakerloo to be extended to Lewisham. Only time will tell. But this is not a Bakerloo video, this is an overground video, but of course there is a healthy mix of the two. I'll cover over the sections that I didn't talk about when I did do the Bakerloo. What I didn't like about the video was that it was poorly researched. So I have done my research for this video. Now we just made it to Watford High Street. Now there are quite a few things to take into thought. If the Croxley link had still gone ahead, the Underground, or the Metropolitan line, would have called at Watford High Street and terminate at Watford Junction. But there also used to be a spur of track from Watford High Street to Rickmansworth Church Street, which was the Watford and Rickmansworth Railway. Now that line opened in 1862 but closed to passengers 90 years later in 1952, and then closed to freight just a few short years later due to the intensive competition of the bus routes in the area. So the more you know. To be honest, I don't anticipate seeing any parks or running on grass or anything along this entire route. It is pretty much all on tarmac, so it'll be interesting to see if the terrain changes. I highly doubt it. It's pretty much on tarmac. It's Bushey Station. So this station, when the Euston to Birmingham Railway was first built, there was no station that was planned here, and it was because of the scarce population. Now when the station did open, it was known as Bushey, and I believe it's Oxhay or Oxhay Station. Then it was changed to Bushey in the 1970s. What's even weirder is that Bushey village is over a mile away, and yet Oxhay, which is this area here, is, well, here. So why is it called Bushey if Bushey is further away? It's confusing, I don't get it. This point is actually pretty peaceful. I was genuinely not expecting this. Coming up to our next station, which is Carpenter's Park. The original station building used to be about 200 metres north of where the current location is, and it was because it used to serve the golf course that's in the area. However, that station did indeed close in 1952 so that they could relocate it to an area that was more closer to the village and the surrounding areas rather than just explicitly the golf course. I gotta say this, I was not expecting so much greenery in this area. I thought it was going to be very industrial, around Willesden Junction. I thought it was going to be very much that. It's interesting because I even said earlier, so it'll be interesting to see if the terrain changes. I highly doubt it, but I for one am genuinely, maybe next time I won't be so quick to judge. But yeah, I'm so impressed. I'm really, really impressed. It's just so funny how you have the sounds of nature and you hear like birds chirping and you've got, you know, a nice bit of trail to go on, and then you just hear the of trains literally next to your head. Right now it's just yeah, who'd have thought? When I was plotting the route, I didn't see anything regarding a golf course. However, there is, was it South Oxey Nature Reserve? Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, something might have just clicked. So in this area, so you've got South Oxey Plain Fields, but then just over from that, you've got Sandy Lodge Golf Course. If you're not familiar, I covered that briefly when I was doing the Metropolitan line. Moor Park was originally going to be called Sandy Lodge. I wouldn't be surprised if there were two stations on either end, one called Sandy Lodge and the other here for Carpenter's Park as another station to get to the golf course. That's the only thing that I think would make sense. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I mean, I'm not claiming for it to be correct. That would be my rational standpoint with that. Alright, we're gonna now make our way over to Hatch End. Hatch End. So as a little stat update, we're about 6 kilometers in and an hour has elapsed, which I know is pretty slow. I'm okay with that. I think it's great just to stop and explore around, and I like to take my time with things like that. I think if you're just rushing all the time, you don't really get to enjoy the beauty of things. Like, I don't know, this pylon right here. If I'd have never seen that, see? If I was too quick, I'd never seen it. If this is in a Greater London borough, I'm colourly shocked. Again, I'm just not expecting this much greenery. I'm still so impressed. I do believe that this is the last time that we are going to be running on a bit of a mixed terrain. From this point it is going to be on tarmac. I'm just going to scrape these off, because here's the thing with the mud, it accumulates weight, so it is like, as you're running, it's like running with little anklet weights on. It's not ideal. This is probably one of my favourite looking station buildings on the London Overground so far. It used to be called Pinner Station in I think it was either 1842 or 1844. It was then changed to Pinner and Hatch End Station in 1897, and then it changed to Hatch End in 1956. There used to be many more platforms that were in use. Now it's just the 2 platforms for the Overground. However, on platform 1 is that it did used to be a proper island platform. It's just interesting to see how much of a, well, quite a big-ish station this used to be. However, what I found the most interesting was that the architecture critic and the poet laureate, Sir John Betjeman, he said about this station in particular that it's like the mix of a bank and a medium-sized country house. Now, if you're not familiar who he is, he's actually the statue that's in St Pancras International. He was one of the main people who led the spearhead campaign to save St Pancras International when it was due to be demolished because of the beaching acts in the 60s. So anyway, we're going to head now to Headstone Lane and let's see what lies in between. A few things that's remarkable about Headstone Lane Station in particular. The first one is that they don't have ticket barriers, to get onto the station platform. So you can just tap onto the Oysterpad reader and walk onto the platform accordingly. However, the other most confusing thing, which I'm going to show you right now, we have a disability ramp on one side of the platform, which is fantastic, but there's no disability access for the other side of the platform. So if you were coming southbound, you'd have to go down to Harrow and Wellston, I think that has disability access, and then go back up to change at this platform here. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. So we're coming up to Harrow and Wellston station now. Now there is quite a grim yet important thing to talk about, and that was the incident that took place in 1952 at Harrow and Wellston. It was the worst rail crash to have happened in Britain during peacetime, and unfortunately 112 people had lost their lives. It was because of that incident which pushed for what's called the automated warning signal. Yeah, it's just very important to not forget that. Right in front of me is Harrow and Wellston station, the terminus of the Bakerloo line. We've got a Bakerloo line train in the platform right now. But there is a disused platform at this station, and it's because there used to be a branch line from here to Stanmore Village. Now, passenger services were withdrawn in 1952. However, the shuttle service between here and Belmont continued up until the 60s, where the service was fully withdrawn because of the Beeching Acts. The only thing that really hasn't been demolished is the disused platform. So if you ever want to check that out, maybe you're a local at this station here and you didn't know, the more you know. Like I said before, I have ran most of this already. However, I didn't do a good enough job last time, so hopefully this little version will be better. So we're going to head over to the next station on the line, which is Kenton, and we'll discuss what we see along the way. Where I'm right now is Bonnersfield Lane. And it seems to be, looking at the sign here, that it was an ancient trackway dating back to medieval times, and it was known, this area, formerly as Green Hill. It's only been recently that there has been a connector blob from here over to Northwick Park on the Metropolitan line. Now, speaking of Northwick Park, so we are going to cut through Northwick Park and then run around Northwick Park and then we'll head to South Kenton. So at this station in particular, South Kenton, it is actually the least used station on the Bakerloo line. It's also one of the few underground stations where you can get onto the platform without needing to go through a ticket gate. You just have the ticket barrier rather. This station was designed by William Henry Hamlin. This used to be a big footbridge that used to go from here up a load of steps and then across and down onto the platforms. However, as it was a bit of a climb, they decided that it maybe wasn't the best sort of station layout, and so that's why they built a passage underneath. And just like that, see, I just know everything. So we're heading over to North Wembley. This station, it was going to be called East Lane. I think I prefer the name East Lane than I do North Wembley. I'll finish at Wembley Central. I'll recommence from Wembley Central, heading over to Euston, as there are indeed still many things to cover along the way. So we're at North Wembley Station, you know, wishful thinking. The station layout in particular is very similar to Kenton, just a couple of stops north. The amount of times that I've seen in my comments where it's like, hey, that looks pretty sketchy, I just haven't, I don't know, I don't really think about it. I just run it. I don't know, I'm not really bothered by stuff like that. What I will say though is that there is a lot of fly tipping. We're at Wembley Central now. I'm going to finish the route for today, so let's stop that for now. And then I'm going to come back here, I don't know, either tomorrow or whatever, and then we'll continue the video, or this is going to be another video. So whatever I decide, I'll just do it as a voiceover now. So we're going to talk a bit more about Wembley Central, so let's keep on cracking on, and then we'll be finishing back over at Euston.